Hi, and welcome to the Healing Journey. I'm Chanin. I'm a licensed massage therapist, a certified Reiki master teacher, master herbalist, certified cryotherapist, and aromatherapist. And I am here to teach you about alternative healing and holistic wellness and give some insight as I see it. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about something I hinted on back when I talked about don't set a New Year's resolution. And I think I only said it one time in the session, and I said word of the year. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what is the word of the year. How do we use word of the year? Why do we use word of the year? So all about word of the year. I started doing this probably 7 or 8 years ago. And I have not made a New Year's resolution on New Year's since I started the word of the year. I hold off my resolutions until spring when I know that they're going to be able to take root and bloom and blossom and actually stay for the whole year. So, spring equinox, that's when I do my resolution. But I don't ignore New Year's Day. New Year's Day is when I get or start working with my word of the year. Sometimes I find my word of the year early. Sometimes it takes me till mid-January. But I do always start my year with one specific word, and that is how I define my year. So technically, sometimes when I'm having trouble thinking about the word of the year, I'll just sit back and relax. Usually starts right after the Christmas holiday, but before New Year's, and I just start thinking about what's a good word, what's resonating with me. And sometimes I hear nothing. And sometimes, like this year, I literally, the first time I sat down, I thought, what is my word of the year? Boom. And there was my word. I was like, okay, I know what my word is now. Did not take me 5 minutes. But that's how it happens. It's not something you have to stress about. It's not something that you have to worry about. You will know your word of the year when it comes to you. And it doesn't necessarily come right away. Sometimes it takes a little bit of contemplating, thinking about what you've learned over the last year, what you've done over the last year, where you want to go in the future. It's this planning time, the time where you don't really do anything, you just plan for things. But your word will come. So when my mentor introduced me to this, and yes, I still work with my current mentor, and she's the one that introduced me to this about 7, 8 years ago. She was literally in the middle of doing a tarot reading for me. And she literally just stopped, put the cards down and said, give me a word. And I was like, what? And she goes, give me a word. And I said, I threw a word out there. I think it was peace. It was a very rough time for me. It was bad mentally. It was bad spiritually. It was bad physically. I was having a lot of physical issues. And she goes, okay, that's your word of the year. And so we talked about, we'd never finished the tarot reading, but we finished talking about word of the year and how I was going to use that word as the foundation of my year. My year was going to be learning about peace and what it means to me. I'm pretty sure peace was my first one. I honestly don't totally, it feels right, but I couldn't promise that's it. But I can tell you that I was like, I'm all for this. This will be easy. I guarantee you, like I said, I can't exactly remember if peace was my first one or not, but I know within the first 2 weeks, I forgot my word of the year and I was doing other things, totally forgot to think about it or face anything. No. And then, come March, I was going, oh yeah, I had a word of the year. What was it again? Oh, that's what it was. So this happens. It is not something that's easily remembered, but it's not hard either. It takes practice just like anything else and how you put it together and how you remember it. And some people get their word of the year, write it on a calendar or whatever, and they just remember it forever. My mind's a sieve. I can't do that. So one of the things I've started doing is I go into Canva and I create a wallpaper and I stick that wallpaper on my phone. So every time my phone opens up, there's my word of the day, of the year, and I never forget it. Took me several years to figure that out. But you get the word of the year. It comes to you, you work through it, you find it, and that is how you focus your year. That doesn't mean that every time you're in prayer or meditation that that's all you're thinking about. But you do want to think about it sometimes and how it relates to what you're going through in that moment, how it relates to the year as it's progressing, how it relates to the New Year's resolutions you set in the spring. It's the word you're going to use to base your year on. And it is extremely helpful when you're trying to be, I don't want to say a better person, but grow. When you're trying to grow as a person and learn as a human and be in society and be better. And just take more things, maybe more empathetic. Maybe you want to grow a spiritual practice more. Maybe you want to feel physically better. These are things that you would use the word of the year for. But yes, it's been a journey for me to remember my words, let alone. But once you figure out the way that makes you remember your word of the year, it makes it so much easier. So some of the words I have used over the years, I know is peace. I know 19, 20, and 21. No, I guess 20 would have been peace. 2020, 21, 22, they were all growth. Every year it was, no, you're still growing. Keep going, keep going. So it doesn't have to be a new word every year, just a word. Last year, my word was presence. So actually not last year, but 2025, my word was presence. So when I think of the word presence, it's learning how to be present in the moment. I was always worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, what's going to happen next month, what's going to happen next year. Am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to do that? I was always thinking about what if this happens? What if that happens next week, next year? It was never now. It was always the future. And so when I got the word presence, I was like, I'm supposed to live in the moment and stop stressing myself so much over those things that are in the future and may or may not come to fruition. If they do come, it's probably because I manifested them and they came because I'm going, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. And it happens. So this whole last year, 2025, I have learned, or I have started learning, because it's still a process, to be more present. Do I still have moments where I am terrified? Absolutely. Absolutely. I guarantee you, in fact, here's an example. I'm a massage therapist by trade. And one week I had 30 clients. I was like, yes, I got this. This is going to be a great week. That week, a stomach bug decided to hit half my clients. I ended up with 12 appointments out of 30 that actually could come to the studio. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm fearing. I wasn't living in the moment. I wasn't thinking about how can I fix this situation right now. I was thinking, how am I going to deal with next week when I don't have this and I don't have this because I didn't have enough clients. It was those moments that I would sit back and say, okay, you had your minute to go freak out over it. Now you got to sit here and think, okay, I'm here right now. What can I do to fix this? And I learned that instead of, I give myself grace. I give everybody else grace, so I give myself grace. I give myself a minute to freak out, and then I would go, okay, I'm going to throw some more marketing out there. I'm going to do this to try to, see, I'm going to check my wait list, see if there's anybody there. I learned how to refocus myself instead of frustrating myself and freaking out and obsessing over what ifs and moving it into how can I fix? What can I do to alleviate the stress in the moment? Sometimes there's nothing you can do, but sometimes you can do things. And that was what I was learning this year. And I'm still learning it. I am still learning this.
Think you've seen it all? Danny Gurry keeps finding Frederick's hidden gems. Family spots, mom and pops, and can't miss bites. Good Morning Frederick. Make sure to watch live at 9 a.m. every weekday on Facebook and YouTube.
What makes for a perfect custom engagement ring? Truly understanding the elements that make a ring that's perfect for you. Custom by Colonial. The Colonial Jewelers box. There's just more in it.
Like I said, it's a learning process. I had growth for 3 years in a row. It's definitely a learning process. It's not something that you learn overnight or even in 1 year. But this is how the word of the year works and how it helps. When you have your word of the year, the way I have found that works best and keeps it in my mind, not just on my phone wallpaper, but actually working with it to make sure that I'm thinking about it and I'm utilizing it and I'm actually working with the word, is I try to take 10 or 15 minutes every other day or every third day. It's not an everyday thing because I'm not an everyday kind of person like that. But 2, 3, 4 times a week, I might sit and think about the word and think over, how did I use presence this week? When did I need it and I didn't use it? I might think about, how could I be better about using it in the next week? Just think about how that word resonates with you in the moment. And just because it's presence doesn't mean that that's what you have to think about. If your word is peace, how did you use peace this week? How did you use growth this week? Whatever your word is, how did you use it? How did it come into your life? Did you forget it? And was there a time that you should have used it that you didn't? These are all the kind of things you think about. And if you journal, write it in your journal or type it in your journal. If you record your journal, record it. But somehow make yourself accountable in little ways to working with your word of the year. That makes the word of the year so much stronger and helps you grow so much faster and keeps you accountable and on track for the year and using that word and learning from it. So, like I said, I've used growth, I've used health, peace. Like this year was different because it was a presence. Next year is a whole new word, totally came out of nowhere. I would have never picked this word for anything, but it chose me. But you know, it really is about listening to what you need, whether it's through prayer, your spirit guides, the universe, just looking back at 2025 and saying, what did I need that I didn't have? What is one word that explains what I needed that I didn't have? And that could be your word. So this year, my word is fear. I know, crazy, isn't it? Why would I want the word fear to be my word of the year? Why do I want to think about fear? Because fear has power over us. And I've learned that I need to learn about fear. And part of that is because I've learned a little bit more about presence. So presence has been teaching me about not worrying about the future, but it doesn't mean that I still don't fear it. I fear I fear in the present when I don't have enough clients or I'm not reaching goals, or if I'm not able to do something I need to get done. I fear, a lot of different things. So learning about presence and being present in my life and in my work and in my business has really made me kind of afraid and be fearful of things that I wouldn't have necessarily been afraid of or feared before because I was so freaked out over it. It wasn't a fear thing. It was just a stress and anxiety. Now I got this fear thing going on. So fear is my word this year. And to be honest, I kind of found peace with that word because I understand why I have it. I understand that I need to come to terms with fear and not let it have the power over me that it does. This does not mean I should never be afraid. Fear is awesome and it's a required emotion. Do not think that nobody is afraid, because then we have other issues. But everybody should have a little bit of fear going on, but it shouldn't overwhelm them. It shouldn't control their lives. They shouldn't be afraid to do everything or anything or worry about stuff to the point that they're making themselves sick from fear. And this is why I believe fear has come to be my word this year, because that's kind of what I've been doing. I wasn't freaking out anymore, but oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And it was a different emotion, a different feeling. And I knew, it was the fear was taking over. So I have to come to a working arrangement with fear. I know it's never going to go away, but I have to learn to accept it, to acknowledge it, and then find ways to make it work with me rather than against me. Because fear is healthy. Everybody should have a little bit of fear about things. That way we don't go walking off cliffs and doing crazy things like that. Fear is not a bad thing. We just have to learn to work with it rather than letting it control us. So my word is fear, and that is what I'm going to be doing this year, is learning to work with fear, acknowledging, let it have a piece of my life because it should, but it's not going to control my life. It's not going to control many of the areas and aspects of my life that it controlled last year while I was learning presence. So it's learning about changing your focus. But this is the power of Word of the Year. It helps you learn to experience life and to use fear and love and happiness and growth and presence and health to make your life better. It's not about shoving down emotions. It's not about having to do everything to work within this word. It's about learning from this word and learning how to incorporate this word into your life. So what do I do about fear? I do not fear fear. I'm kind of excited about having this year and learning to work with my fear. And I think that is almost neutralizing some of the fear of this word. It's not making it go away, but it's making it easier for me to work with a healthy fear and not be afraid of fear. So this is the word of the year practice. It's not hard. It's really simple, especially to start it in a time of rest and regeneration and planning. It's a perfect time to get the roots of it ready to go so that when you have the spring and you get your resolution started, you have this as a foundation of your resolution. To me, it just means a healthier, more balanced life. So I always tell my clients when they're asking me, sometimes I tell them when they don't ask me and they don't really want to know, but I tell them anyway, you need to do this. But yeah, now it's your turn. All you got to do is pick one word. What's your word? What is your word of 2026 that is going to help you experience life more fully? If this episode made you think about adopting a word of the year instead of a New Year's resolution, I'd love to ask a small favor of you to like, share, and subscribe. And let us know in the comments what your word of the year is. If you've got questions or other topics you'd like us to discuss, again, throw them in the comments. We'd love to know them so that we can talk about them or bring somebody on that knows about them. So until next time, meditate, pick your word of the year. That's your foundation. And I'll see you next time.
Sponsored by Fusion Car Wash. Now with 2 locations in Frederick to serve you. One on Spectrum Drive near the FSK Mall, which is a full-service location. And TJ Drive with self-serve vacuums. Download the free Fusion Car Wash app and sign up for a monthly membership. And you can keep all your cars clean daily. FusionCarWash.com.